What's up everybody, welcome back. So we're going to continue to experiment with some more Pokemon with their newly updated moves as part of the massive move update we received recently for the new season. And in this video we're going to be taking a look at Scald Tentacruel along with Surf Lanturn in the Open Great League. In my previous video I did try out Fairy Wind Slurpuff along with Galarian Weezing. Do check that out, the link is in the description. But as far as Lanturn and Tentacruel are concerned, both of these Pokemon are pretty tanky and have the potential to be pretty solid as far as Go Battle League is concerned. I guess the biggest issue was they couldn't get to those charge moves pretty quickly, and now with access to Surf and Scald, it's going to provide some solid coverage and definitely make it a lot more viable than it used to be, right? And for this team comp, I'm only using Trevenant as the lead to provide that coverage against some of those grass types and ground types, which this backline would kind of be weak against. And I did a couple of sets of battles with this team and had some decent success with it, and there were some really fun battles in here, and let's get straight into it. So moving on to the first battle here, we have Trevenant into a Buzzwole, a pretty solid lead for Trevenant because these counters are double resisted, whereas these Shadow Claws are really adding up. But this is an ABB line, so I have to switch out eventually. I'm going to switch to my Tentacruel, which is kind of a hard wall to Buzzwole because both fighting and bug type moves are resisted, right? Because of the poison typing on Tentacruel. They are choosing to stay in, which is fine. They're going to probably fire off another lunge here, which tells me that they probably don't have a hard counter to a Tentacruel, which is understandable. So at this point, I'm just going to fire off the Scald because I don't expect them to shield this, and an Acid Spray would not KO from that range. So as you can see, Scald actually takes out the Buzzwole there. Out comes Walrein, which is not really a counter for Tentacruel because Walrein is going to have to throw a move because these Powder Snows and even Icicle Spear is resisted, but it's probably going to KO from this range. But I'm just going to fire off as many Acid Sprays as I can, and even though we're debuffed, these poison jabs are really adding up. As you can see, we just got this Walrein down below 50% health right now, and I was hoping that they would blind throw the Icicle Spear here, which is why I decided to bring out my Lanturn. Unfortunately, they throw the Earthquake, which is really bad for me. And they have an Azumarill in the back. This is absolutely beautiful. Honestly, Azumarill has absolutely nowhere to go against this team. All these three Pokemon have pretty solid matchups against Azumarill. I go for the Thunderbolt here, does super effective damage. Immediately switching to my Trevenant right now to go for the Seed Bomb. They actually let that go through as well, which is really surprising. So at this point, I'm just going to shield this up, and then I'm going to look to commit to the complete farm down here. And Walrein is very low on health, so I'm actually not going to throw a move right now because I want to do as much Shadow Claw damage as possible and put it into Spark farm down range because I don't think I can really get off 3 moves against Walrein. So I'm just going to let it go through right now. I mean, we have no more shields, so we have no choice. And at this point, we should be able to Spark down the Walrein. And they're not going to get to another move, and Lanturn is going to be able to take it out. So it's not often that you see that opponent goes down with 2 shields, especially when you're not using Pokemon that do heavy damage with the fast move. So that was a very unique situation there. Moving on to the next one here, we have a Trevenant into an Altaria. Pretty negative lead actually, so I'm actually going to stay in for a bit and look to catch a Sky Attack on my Tentacruel. Honestly, this team doesn't have a hard counter to an Altaria, so you do have to combo play it a little bit. Tentacruel is a decent matchup against it because these Poison Jabs and Acid Sprays are definitely going to start adding up over a period of time. So I'm just going to go for the Acid Spray here just to buff or debuff them, and then so that these Poison Jabs really start adding up. As you can see, they throw on absolutely perfect timing just before we can get to another Acid Spray. Sky Attack will be taking on my Tentacruel, that's fine. I can come in with my Lanturn. The reason I chose to come in with Lanturn is because they can only get to a Sky Attack, right? And Sky Attack is obviously resisted by Lanturn because of the electric typing. Also, a Lanturn being super tanky as well. And they have a Galarian Stunfisk at the back. This is again another one of those matchups where having Surf is really useful because again, if you're running Hydro Pump, it's going to take forever to get there, and especially in the 2 shield situation, you really cannot spam out these moves, right? We actually get a shield with Surf. I immediately switch into my Trevenant here to go for the Seed Bomb to hopefully draw a shield, which we do draw a shield, and this tells me that they could be pretty weak to Trevenant in the back because they're not switching out. So I'm going to shield this up. It's going to be a Rock Slide. It's going to do quite a bit of damage. They get off another Rock Slide as well. I'm going to shield this up as well, and it's going to be very close right now. I'm just going to overfarm as much as I can here, and at this point they have a Medicham in the back, and this is beautiful for me. I'm just going to farm up just a little bit more, throw the Shadow Ball here. This is going to near one-shot the Medicham. Almost one-shots it. I'm able to Shadow Claw down, and one Shadow Claw short of another Shadow Ball here, and Shadow Ball is going to do enough neutral damage to take out the Galarian Stunfisk there. So Trevenant definitely bringing out the broom, going for a sweep, and once again showing why it's one of the best picks in the Great League there. So definitely Lanturn putting a lot of work as well. So moving on to the next one here, we have a Trevenant into a Galarian Stunfisk. Galarian Stunfisk definitely is a bit of an issue for this team because my backline definitely does not want to go up against it. They actually switch into their Sableye. We don't have a hard counter to a Sableye, so I switch into my Tentacruel. The reason I bring in my Tentacruel is because Tentacruel has a really poor matchup against Galarian Stunfisk, especially because these poison moves are triple resisted. But I'm going to soak up this foul play. Hopefully we can survive it, and we barely survive it, and we're able to get off a Scald as well. This is massive. It's going to do massive damage against the Sableye. Near one shots, it doesn't quite take it out though, which is unfortunate. So I'm just going to come to my Trevenant, and we should be able to Shadow Claw down, which is really nice. And they have a Venusaur at the back, so it's absolutely critical that I take out this Venusaur with my Trevenant because again, Lanturn has no play against Venusaur. So I go for the Shadow Ball. They probably thought that was a bait, which is nice. It absolutely does massive damage there. I'm definitely going to shield this up. We know it's just going to be a frenzy plan, but I do want to preserve my Trevenant a little bit more. I go for the Seed Bomb Shield Bait. It's almost guaranteed to get a shield right now, and now I'm going to try and go for the Shadow Ball. I'm going to commit to the Shadow Ball. Unfortunately, they get to move first. I can't afford to shield this, unfortunately. I have to let this go, and it's a very tough matchup for Lanturn. I need to basically get off 3 Surfs before they can get off 2 Earthquakes here. It's going to be very close. So I go for the first Surf right now. It does super effective damage, and they do let that go through. And at this point, they're going to go for a move. It's going to be a huge call. I'm going to call the Earthquake, and I'm going to shield this up, and we do shield that. And I need to build up to 2 Surfs, and hopefully I can get off 2 Surfs before they can get to an Earthquake. So I go for the first Surf. Unfortunately, I think this is a CMP tie on the Earthquake. That's very unfortunate for me because, again, we have the Surf right now. As you can see, they have the Earthquake there, and Earthquake is just going to do enough super effective damage to take out the Lanturn from that range there. So very, very close battle. If we'd gotten off the Surf, I guess we could have won that, but anyways. Moving on to the next one here, we have Trevenant into a Walrein, a pretty negative lead. I immediately switch into my Tentacruel right now. And they are staying in, they make a switch into their Trevenant, which really isn't a hard counter for Tentacruel, especially considering that Tentacruel is pretty tanky and Trevenant is pretty glassy, and especially after these Acid Spray debuffs, it's gonna really start adding up, right? I'm gonna let this go through. It's gonna be a Seed Bomb here. It's only neutral because of the Water Poison typing, and I'm gonna go for another Acid Spray right now. As you can see, it's absolutely tearing through Trevenant here, and I should hopefully be able to farm down. No, I cannot. I'm gonna shield this up because, I value switch advantage at this point. Probably in hindsight, that was a bit of a mistake. Walrein comes back in, it's forced to throw its energy, and it's going to be an Icicle Spear here, which is going to take out my Tentacruel. I'm going to come in with my Lanturn right now, and they are building up to an Earthquake. So I'm actually going to catch the Earthquake on my Trevenant, which is beautiful. I'm hoping this is an Earthquake, and it is the Earthquake, which is really nice for me. And I'm going to try and get to the Seed Bomb as soon as I can. I was trying to spam it because I wanted to CMP tie them on their Icicle Spear, but unfortunately they make an incredible catch on their Drapion. In hindsight, I probably should have held on to my energy and probably fired off a Shadow Ball because that obviously would have done a lot more, right? I can't afford to shield this. I'm going to let this go through here. I'm going to come in with my Lanturn right now, going for the Surf to hopefully draw a shield from the Drapion. And this is where I make a couple of mistakes actually. At this point, I should have actually committed to going for the Thunderbolt because they're probably not going to shield this, right? Because Surf is not going to KO, whereas Thunderbolt would probably come close to taking out the Drapion. And that actually ended up mattering a lot because I'm having to invest a shield in this matchup. As you can see, the first punch comes through. I have to shield the second one because of the defense debuff. My plan here is to farm the Drapion all the way down, but unfortunately this Walrein has too much energy. I build up to the back-to-back Surfs. Unfortunately they beat me to the Earthquake. So definitely a bit of a misplay there. If I'd gone off a Thunderbolt against the Drapion, I probably would have had that. Moving on to the next one here, we have a Trevenant against an Azumarill. Whenever you're going up against Azumarill teams, you're going to win 9 times out of 10 because all 3 of these Pokemon are pretty solid matchups against Azumarill. Azumarill has nowhere to go against this team. As I mentioned earlier, they make a switch into their Sableye. I catch the foul play on my Lanturn, and now I'm going to go fire off the Surf here. Honestly, we don't have a hard counter to a Sableye. Lanturn is probably my best response to it. Once again, I'm hoping the Lanturn being extremely tanky, we can survive a foul play, which we do once again with barely, pretty much like 1 HP there. As Zionic would say, 1 HP and a Dream, and we get off a Surf, which doesn't quite KO the Sableye. And hopefully I can Shadow Claw down. This time we're not able to Shadow Claw down. Sableye is able to get to the foul player. I have to respect it, and I have to commit a shield right now, but that's fine. And they have an Altaria in the back. I'm just going to stay in and hopefully fire off 2 Shadow Balls here because one of these Shadow Balls has to draw a shield from the Altaria, right? And they still don't know what we have in the back. And again, Tentacruel needs absolutely no shields against Altaria, against Azumarill, I should say. So the second Shadow Ball actually gets the shield from the Altaria, and at this point I can safely shield this up because this is the only move that's going to do neutral at this point, because nothing Azumarill has is going to do anything against Tentacruel, right? Tentacruel is probably the hardest Azumarill counter in the game, and now with both Lanturn and Tentacruel now sort of, I guess, with receiving pretty good moves, I guess that kind of puts Azumarill even further away from the meta. I mean, yeah, unless Azumarill probably gets Fairy Wind, which I don't think it will at any point in time, at least in the near future, right? But anyways, as you can see, Azumarill really can't do much against Tentacruel here. I'm going to be able to get off another Acid Spray, and especially after these debuffs, these Poison Jabs are really going to start adding up. And again, we're able to farm down the Azumarill there. Altaria has pretty much 1 HP, and it's going to go down to Poison Jab. So yeah, as you can see, I mean, even if they have pretty hard counters in the back, with Azumarill leads, you're going to win more often than not. We have a Shadow Mawile with Fire Fang on the lead. I immediately save switch into my Tentacruel here. They make a switch into their Razor Relief Shadow Ivysaur. So this is okay. It's actually a pretty neutral matchup for Tentacruel because as you can see, these poison jabs are really starting to add up, especially after the Acid Spray rebuff. I'm able to get to the second Acid Spray as well. This should draw a shield from the Ivysaur if they want to win switch advantage, which it does. And unfortunately, they live on 1 HP to basically win switch advantage. I'm just going to let it go through. Even if it's Sludge Bomb, I don't really see value Trevenant too much at this point. I'm just going to put it on Lanturn. And they actually have a Wigglytuff in the back. So Trevenant honestly had no play against their entire team, I guess. But the best matchup would probably have been against Ivysaur, but that's fine. Now it's all up to Lanturn with the shield advantage to be able to close this out. I'm going to go for the Surf right now to hopefully draw a shield, which it does. And I should be able to get to one of the Surf, hopefully. And they actually make a catch onto their Shadow Mawile, which isn't the worst thing in the world because Surf is going to do quite a bit of damage against Mawile. And at this point, I can commit to the complete Spark Farm Down against this Mawile. I can basically just shield once, probably just a Power Up Punch. But even if it's boosted, these 5 fangs are still resisted, and Lanturn being extremely tanky can comfortably tank this. And I come out as a matchup with 2 Surfs here. I could probably go for Thunderbolt and 1-hit KO it, but I just want to play it safe and go for 2 Surfs just in case one Thunderbolt doesn't KO. I mean, honestly, Thunderbolt would have definitely KO'd from that range, but I decided to play it safe. And we're able to get to the back-to-back Surfs here, and that's going to take out the Wigglytuff there. So I guess might as well use the newly updated moves. We've been using Thunderbolt for ages, so it's nice to use Surf on Lanturn. So moving on to the next one. This is actually one of those battles where I misplayed it quite a bit. They have a Swampert, they make a switch into their Sableye. I don't have a hard counter to it, so I throw the Seed Bomb. And this is where I should have come in with my Tentacruel, right? If they have a Swampert in the lead with Sableye as the safe swap, it's pretty much obvious that they have a Skarmory in the back. So I think it would have made more sense to preserve my Lanturn for the Skarmory, which I realized only after I switched my Lanturn into the Sableye, which is pretty unfortunate because yeah, that ended up being a bit of a costly mistake on my part. I definitely should have switched the Tentacruel onto the Sableye there. Unfortunately, I'm having to shield twice because I got baited with Foul Play the first time, and I'm going to commit to the complete farm down here. Unfortunately, they're able to get to another Foul Play. This is very bad for me because this puts my Lanturn into much short farm down range for the Swampert, which is not good. And Swampert with energy advantage can absolutely sweep a lot of backlines. I go for the Surf here. The second Surf should get the shield from Swampert, and unfortunately, we're not going to be able to live these mud shots to get to another Surf. I'm going to try to, but we're not going to be able to do it. So I come in with my Tentacruel, Lanturn I should say. I'm going to try and catch a Sludge Wave on Tentacruel. Unfortunately, it doesn't end up working out. And if they're running Earthquake, it's going to be very bad for me. But fortunately, they're only running Hydro Cannon. So they're probably running Hydro Cannon and Sludge Wave, which makes sense as well. And there's going to be another Hydro Cannon here, and I'm hoping that I can farm down, but they get to another Hydro Cannon as well. Swampert was absolutely loaded. And now it's all up to Tentacruel, or Trevenant I should say, to close it out. But yeah, it's too much for Trevenant to handle because they have a Skarmory in the back as expected. And if I'd preserved my Lanturn for it, this would have been an easy win. Definitely misread that a little bit. And it's just too much for Trevenant to do at this point. Skarmory is able to get to the Sky Attack here, and down goes Trevenant. It's a game I should have definitely won. And we probably could have finished with a 4-1 set here. We finished with a 3-2 set. That's okay. It's pretty decent. Honestly, this team ended up working out decently for me. Probably not the best team out there, but I wanted to put Tentacruel and Lanturn together to see how they would perform. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm super excited for Season 12. Good luck to all you guys as well. I'm looking forward to uploading a lot more frequently come the new season. And hopefully we can try out a lot of new fun Pokemon with their brand new updated movesets as well. So looking forward to that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.